Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, Righteous, Chocolate, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, welcome one and all. Don't shoot the messenger, says second with a super chat. Thank you very much for the early support. Really appreciate it. Please share the show, as I said already in the intro. It'd be good to get it to 100 people straight off the bat after a bit of a short break or not doing a Friday show. So yeah, please share the show. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
It's underneath the horizon.
There should be evidence, but they say you never see it, so it only exists in the mind of a person. It doesn't exist in reality. I mean, if the Earth had curvature at some point, it's going to show curvature.
It's below surface level in Muppet vision.
Right. It's underneath the horizon, below surface level.
Yeah, but the horizon in the surface level Muppet vision maths, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve mathematics, is Muppet vision. So when you say surface level and the horizon they label with an X and call the horizon is below the horizon, then that doesn't make sense because they don't label a horizon on the surface level. It's just labelled with a horizontal line denoted surface level. And then the correctly identified by you Earth curve marked with an X horizon is below surface level, as John would frequently point out. But that's not the horizon below the horizon. But I like your quip.
But that's not even true, because if you're at sea at any time, you never see that Muppet vision. You're just looking forward or backward or sideways, and it's all flat. You never see what that Muppet vision is showing where that X is.
Right. That's the horizon you can't see.
No, you see the only horizon there is.
Right. And you can't see the geometric horizon.
Correct. So the horizon marked with an X labelled horizon in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is the geometric horizon that we cannot see.
Right, but what I do see, which is not real, because clouds aren't actually touching the ocean. But I do see that at the end of the viewing that I'm having on the boat if I look forward. So there's no curvature to the clouds. It's perspective and the convergence.
Was that a script?
Not that we need to explain this. Why would we need to explain this? If there's a claim that there's Earth curve, then we need to see Earth curve. As for what we say the horizon is, who cares? Does it matter?
Well, it does. Go on, John.
I was going to say, well, what they say the horizon is only calculable with two flat planes and a differential in height. So I don't think it really matters what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
they said there's evidence of Earth curves, and the evidence is that buildings disappear on the bottom up, and boats disappear bottom up.
Right. So a physical geometric sphere edge obstruction that they call the horizon. Meanwhile, as John is pointing out, to get to that assertion, you need the differential between eye level and surface level. And the calculation we fondly refer to as the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is said differential calculation. Therefore, the geometric horizon only exist in Muppet Vision side profile, where you're looking at the side of your own head and the target, and the Earth curve claimed to be obstruction below surface level all at the same time.
Alrighty then.
It's quite elusive, this Earth curve. It's very hard to actually find it.
It doesn't exist beyond the maths.
Who wouldn't expect to see it, Arwen?
Nobody's expecting to see geometric Earth curve. Nobody.
I don't know if it exists in the maths either. I'm still yet to be convinced, but we can argue that later, I guess.
Well, there's no arguing with your. Hold on. The clue is in the title. Hold on.
Math.
The clue is in the title. The clue is in the title of the math. First and foremost, Earth curve calculator, and it's marked with an X and labelled horizon in said mathematics. So while you say you're struggling to believe that it exists in the maths, yes, the calculations are differentials between eye level and surface level, and yes, you then have a tangent to a sphere Earth radius 3959 by way of presupposition that has said tangent point marked with an X labelled horizon. So why would you doubt that it exists in the maths when it's right there for you to see?
Well, I think it's a misinterpretation of the mathematics. Just like if I say a square is the same thing as a rectangle, I can make all kinds of correlations, but that doesn't mean that's true in the math.
I would say John's sort of right, because as a conception in the maps, it's supposed to exist, but even calling it that name, geometric horizon, that asserts that there's some sort of physicality to it. And first of all, that's math, so there's no physicality. And second of all, that physicality doesn't exist in reality.
Speaking of reality,
which is why
Does physicality resist in a real mountain or a hill?
well, there isn't, like a real hill, but in reality, you can establish a horizontal baseline by utilising the horizon, as is done in this diagram on screen now. So I may as well ask that question to follow up with. Is there any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement, like the one on screen, from a curved baseline? That would be a curved Earth instead of a flat Earth as depicted on screen.
If we did, then we would have Globers actually tell us that. Instead, they keep telling us how flat the baseline is. That's supposed to be used for this. So I guess not.
But Jaren says it's possible.
Wait, Jaren's a flat earther.
that just, I don't even know what that does to my point, but that's just ridiculous. So the Globers tell us how flat it is, but flat, quote unquote flat earther is saying that you could use a curved baseline. That's cute.
I've actually got a clip. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't
Go
hear.
for it.
I'll just repeat that. Parallax measurements require Earth to be flat. 50.
What?
So this uses flat baselines.
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
I've been trying to say it too, but
I want to hear from 50.
highlight something.
I want to hear. That was it. Maybe you didn't hear. I'll just repeat that. Parallax measurements require Earth to be flat. 50.
What?
What?
The same guy who said that the observer was on the sun.
Someone
But the
mentioned in the
funniest part
pre-show.
of that is that when Nathan's asking that question, he's asking, well, where's the right triangle? Where's the 90? Right? And he's like, because that would make it flat. But he just laughed at the concept that it would be flat. This guy,
Later in the same video,
Jeez.
I point out that you'd need a flat baseline for the angle. And he's like, well, then we'll acquire a flat baseline then. I'm like, yeah, you will.
oh yeah.
That's right.
The minute that Chocolate said you have to subtract from 90, it's over. I mean,
When you got a leak, well, you got a leak.
A bit more of that. Might as well. I'm going to release this in a couple of days. This would, as you mentioned it in the pre-show about ads before the live show, the intention for this video, it's the right length to become a trailer for something like the live show or the premiering streams that go out on the main channel. So you can have another little snip. You'll get more familiar with it as it gets strapped onto the live show as the new trailer.
Down. Name. The Earth is a globe.
According to
Wow.
the citation I've just had,
You want some evidence for that?
reading what it says about
Alright,
parallax.
and I've also got
Of displacement of an object caused by the change of the observer's point of view. In astronomy, it is an irreplaceable tool for calculating distance of faraway stars. Parallax enables astronomers to measure the distances to faraway stars by using trigonometry. So this uses flat baselines.
Yes. Yes. That's what I was wondering.
I've been trying to say it too, but
I want to hear from 50.
highlight something.
I want to hear from 50. Everybody else, please be quiet. Maybe you didn't hear. I'll just repeat that. Parallax measurements require Earth to be flat. 50.
What?
On screen now for my audience, it's an angle measurement, 50. Therefore, you would require a flat baseline for it to be called an angle.
Okay, we'll establish the flat baseline.
So Earth is flat.
There you go.
Well, thank you for your time. We will just establish a horizontal baseline. Yep, indeed, Nathan from the past. Just what I was about to say.
We'll just establish a flat baseline.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Just-
50.
When I heard
Thanks,
that,
buddy.
two things went through my mind. I hate to bring it back, and as much as I say, I never think people like Dell or Toon or any of those idiots a second thought. Actually, Dell's probably not the best one to put in those categories because he's actually a flat earther as well. But I don't know, Toon or Simon Dan, I don't lose sleep over them or give them any thought after they've done something, even if they've made a video specifically about me. In many instances, it takes me a while to actually get around to watching them, if at all. But when it's someone like Jaren, it does get into your skin a lot more. You take it a lot more personally because they're, seemingly on your side and should be bolstering you. So it leaves a bit more of a bitter taste in your mouth, let's just say. So it does, you do dwell on it, or at least I do. I'm trying to be honest here. But when I heard that from 50, that's what went through my mind immediately. Two things. First, there's that concession that Jaren says he fails to get from ballers. Yeah, we'll be measuring a flat baseline then. Yeah, there's his concession. He's conceding that in order to do this, it doesn't matter whether he's a baller or not, flat line is needed. He's going to get one on Earth. Flat. He's a baller. I don't know what else you're going to need. But second thing is that this is being decried, in respect to elevation angles. It's the same thing. It's just an elevation angle measurement, but with a different title. It doesn't matter that it's parallax angle. It's just an angle from a baseline. An angle measurement off Earth, practically applied to their ball model after measuring it flat. Now, a few people in the comments were like, no, there are balls in the model. I'm like, you don't think we're all aware? It was even pointed out at one stage by 10th. They're utilising the celestial sphere. So therefore, they're using a flat plane in hell. They're still using a flat plane, though. It doesn't matter which way they want to dice it. So that's our proof. Earth has to be measured flat to do these angles. So to hear them decried by our own side, to hear that you can get angles from curves, if it's a minimal angle, it's like, no, quantitatively, you can't ever. It's never going to be capable of qualification as an angle if it's off a curve. Doesn't matter how small it is. But that fact means that when your angle measurement comes from Earth, it's flat. It's a stone cold proof that we should all be behind, regardless of any differences that we have in this arena. That's flat Earth. Now, it's easy to then go, and if you're not, you're a shill. No. But if you're watching this show and you're like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, this is important. I'm a flat earther. I want to be able to prove Earth's flat to next man when I'm put on the spot and called an idiot. I want to be able to pull something out of my back pocket that slaps down that fundamentalist religious ball-believing idiot when they tell me I'm stupid. And I show them how Earth's measured flat and navigated flat and how it saved lives. And in this instance, the ball believers require it to be flat to make their assertion a parallax. So this is powerful stuff that you need to write down if you haven't got it already. Get a pen. Last one. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Also, welcome Henrik to Penguin.
Which gravity are we talking about? The bending of space-time or mass attracting mass?
Not my
because
claim.
There are more than two. But
Not
I'll
my
just
claim.
bring up those two.
Whichever you like. It's not my claim.
What you got to deal with gravity is the indoctrination from birth with that word. and the associations made to it with it through the movies. And so now when you're talking to someone and they say gravity, we know what they mean. And we say, really? What happened 107 years ago? Because that changed what you just said to me. They go, no, what happened 107 years ago? I go, Einstein said it's not a force and debunked it. And now it's a conceptual math issue. It's a 4D space-time. It doesn't even exist. It only exists in the calculation because it never existed in reality. And they go crazy.
So that's why when he debunked that, we didn't all fall off the earth because gravity was no longer keeping us on the earth.
Well, it never did. It never existed. And because they couldn't prove it, they needed to take it into the math world and make it a calculation now. So this way you can never prove it. It only exists in the calculation. And you hear these guys and gals that we do the review videos, these astrophysicists, they're always talking about, well, we did the equations. Okay, what does that prove? Well, we want gravity to be real, so we did equations and it works out in the equation, so it's real. No, it's not real in an equation if it's not real in reality.
So are they going to get rid of this gravity now too with quantum mechanics?
Yeah, what's there to get rid of, Neil?
This baloney that the bending of space-time is anything at all.
Quantum gravity.
It's a mathematical construct of imagination with absolutely no experimental validation.
Huh.
And now, actually, surprisingly, there's a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of nicks and cuts while shaving? Try our quantum foam for the best shave ever.
Now they really going to think it's a show.
Oh, gosh.
Right, we'll ask one more, although the last one was one more. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No.
Wow, that was quick.
Okay, I don't mind if it's a quick one.
I have one.
We'll go on, AI.
If astrophysics department, then funding.
True today, might not be true tomorrow.
That's pretty good, actually.
It's a
Whole
different
hard
then
cash is
statement.
physical.
True enough. Right, we've got a video today.
Let me comment. Hang on. Let me comment on this. So, astrophysicists, the physical, which they can't go to, the stars, the space they say it is, and they just look through a telescope, and then it's got to match all of the other garbage like gravity and the sphere Earth and spinning, and they just do equations. They never actually handle anything physical.
Well, we
So that's a
assume
bad name.
you've got to make a
think
certain
of it
assumption about the stuff in the sky
though
that
it's-
it's not physical, but I wouldn't even go as far as to make that assertion. You don't know either way. They're asserting it is, therefore it's their burden to prove that they are dealing with the physical when they reify their mathematics in fourth dimensions. It isn't. We can take apart their mathematical reifications from the fourth dimension that they've invented. So they can't, but they do assume that they are dealing with the physical when they're describing it to us. It's just their burden.
No, it is their burden, and that's my whole point. So it's their burden to prove it, but they've never been able to put their fingertips on any of it. So it's all in the math, as Shock
I
was
don't disagree. My critique was of you to say that you overtly state that it's non-physical. Okay, outside the purview of physics. Well, I wouldn't be so bold, is what I'm saying. Why is
I
there a
didn't say
bling
it was
blong, by the way?
non-physical.
That man
I'm
did
saying
not
Just one
say
sec,
that.
just one sec.
I didn't say
Just one
that.
sec. Can anyone else hear that bling blong? What is that noise? Irritating, whatever it is. Can you all hear that?
Nope.
Negative.
Okay.
No, yeah, but I didn't say what you said. I said.
That's what I said.
No,
Okay, let's move
you
on.
said it. You said it's not physics.
No, I said. I'm asking a question. Physics. How many physics departments are there, and what do they deal in? So we got astrophysics. Okay. So what does that mean in its rudimentary, fundamental way? What are they actually doing in their astrophysics? All they're doing is looking through a telescope.
Daring and declaring.
Alrighty then. Let's get on to this video. Thank you, AI.
Yeah.
This is
Have
called...
fun.
No, not this, because this is my video. This is called The Scientific Method and Theories versus Laws. All right, this is right up our street. It's only a smaller YouTuber as well. Right, give this dude some love. So I did actually already put his link into the live stream chat in case you were wondering what that was right at the top of the feed. But here it is again. So let this person know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And just let him know we've left him a little response to his video.
Good
I think
morning.
it's the sound
Good morning,
effects
guys.
from. I think it's the sound effects from Discord. So I'll have to go in and change that so it's not giving me notifications when people are coming off and on mute and things. Okay. Anyway, I'll address that some other time. Not of high priority at the moment, as we've got a video to cover. So we're going to get right into this. As I say, let me know that Nathan Oakley 1980 or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
In this lesson, we're learning about the scientific method.
Jolly good.
The scientific method is how we know what we know in science. It's a systematic method for observing and then testing those observations in a systematic and scientific way. Let's take a look at the main steps in the scientific method. First of all,
okay, I don't know if this is something we're going to agree or disagree with, so this is going to be interesting. Let's get a little vote. Got how many people watching? 75 people watching. Ah, not bad. How long have we been going? 20 minutes? There or thereabouts? Let us know from the chat while we talk amongst ourselves. With a number 1, if you think this guy, Jeremy Krug, my bad, is going to be in agreement with us and lay out the scientific method as is. Or is he going to incorporate, with the number 2, if you believe this is the case, some weaselly words so it's just so stories can be called science. So number 1, if you think he's just going to straight up give you cause and effect reasoning, systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis with independent and dependent variable after observing phenomena, that would be a number 1. Or if you think he's going to weasel in his nonsense so he can have his just so stories about what lights in the sky are and then call them science. For example, it might not be lights in the sky, but just as an example. So far, everyone's thinking that this is going to be a weaselly video. We'll see what Tent's got on the agenda.
He's going to start with ask a question.
Say again, Chocolate?
You might even start it off with ask a question as the first step.
Well, that's why I paused it so early, because that gives the game away immediately. And I'm cold to this video, as are you, right, Chocolate? You don't know who this guy is, right?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I've
right.
never heard this.
But I sniffed out that. It might not be. We'll see. And Tent's not. He's keeping stum at the moment, so we'll get a few more votes from the chat. There's a couple of people saying 1.
He did say, though, science is the way we know scientific things by testing them in a scientific way. That sounds silly.
In a scientific way did sound silly. I almost commented on it. Maybe that was giving the game away. We will see. Okay, I think the vote's in, right? Everyone thinks this is going to be Weasley. Is it appropriate for you to tell us in advance, 10th, or should I just play our way through?
I'll say 1.5.
Oh, 10th is the one who's provided this video, so it says 1.5. Okay, let's have a watch.
we are always going to make an observation. And so we observe. And so as an example, an observation might be something as simple as you go out to your car one morning and notice that it doesn't start.
Total fail immediately. No, if you're observing something and qualifying it as science, even if you're giving it in an example, I would prefer, although this is early doors, that you describe it completely, which is to say you observe something occurring in nature. That would be observe natural phenomena. So observe is an incomplete statement because I can observe that I've got a table. And there's going to be no scientific way of sciencing the cause of that effect because it isn't one and it's not natural. It's man-made. So not only is it not naturally occurring, it's not a natural item. So it falls short of the scientific method because it's not observing a natural phenomenon if you just say observe. So that's my first critique straight off the bat.
That's just a simple
Well,
observation.
Everything comes from the earth, so how can it not be nature? Right? No matter what you make a table with, it comes from the earth.
You're going to do the
Well-
science of barbecue grills.
Yeah, but he's already peppering in the okey doke factor, right? He's already conflating natural science with, oh, my car doesn't start, so I could science the shit out of that.
It's technology.
And that's the okie doke. That's how I know, but that's the point. That's how they get people. That's why I call it the okie doke factor.
Yeah, it's stolen valor. So what they with this, as Chocolate has just discussed it, is the stolen valor element of how we get duped with science. Imagine at the extreme the advert for Timotei. Now comes the science part. No, it doesn't. That's not science. Science is the natural observed phenomena followed by a presumed or assumed cause of the effect you're studying, followed by the variation of said presumed cause to see if it induces the effect. That's called an experiment, and the basis of the experiment was the independent and dependent variable. Dependent being the natural phenomena, independent being that which you varied. That is a hypothesis, and it followed observing something occurring in nature that you wanted to know the cause of.
It doesn't have to be something in the laboratory necessarily. The scientific method is a way that we solve problems.
No, it's the way you establish or elucidate the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena.
And here you have a problem. Your car doesn't start.
That's a technology problem. You need a garage, not a scientist.
And so that's a simple observation, but it doesn't stop there. The second...
It's an observation that would be better served in front of a mechanic, not somebody trying to establish cause and effect reasoning based on naturally occurring phenomena. That would be a scientist.
Step in the scientific method is we make a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is a possible explanation of observations that we make in the natural world.
That's a lot more like it. A possible explanation of observations we make in the natural world. Now, the observation, it sounds from your phraseology, it's just the observation that needs to take place in the natural world, when in reality it's the observation of a phenomena that is natural. So, a little bit Weasley, but we're getting closer. That's definitely better. It's at least got the word natural in it, which excludes your car example.
Sometimes it's called an educated guess. And
the educated guess being the independent variable, that which you will vary to see if it does cause the effect after you've guessed that it would. You then vary it and see if it will or not. But the independent variable, that's your best guess. Yes, correct.
So, for example, a hypothesis in our situation where the car doesn't start might be something as simple as saying,
I need a mechanic, or I need to learn how my car works so I can fix it.
Well, perhaps there's something wrong with the battery. And so that's just a possible explanation.
Troubleshooting.
Yes, troubleshooting, correct.
Sometimes in science, these hypotheses will take the form of an if-then statement.
Yeah, if independent variable, then dependent variable. If I vary that which I assume will cause the effect, then it will cause the effect I'm studying. In other words, you're trying to induce the effect you studied in nature or observed to occur. You're trying to make it occur by varying what you assume will cause it.
If this is happening, then this is the explanation.
No, if I vary A, then B will occur. Alternative hypothesis would be that statement with an if and then supposition of cause and a natural phenomena. Also backed up in a true hypothesis with something called a null hypothesis, the antithesis of the prediction. If I vary A, B will not happen. This is a crucial element to a hypothesis, because if you vary that which you assume causes the effect and it doesn't, you prove you're null. However, if you vary and it does cause the effect, then you prove your alternative. Hence, the outcome is empirically validatable, regardless of outcome. You will either prove it causes it or prove it doesn't.
You know, that can be the form of your hypothesis. In the everyday world, it might not be in that format. The next thing that we do after we make that hypothesis is we test it. And we test that hypothesis using an experiment. And so in the everyday world, performing an experiment might be something as simple as just looking around and seeing what's going on.
Wrong. Variation of that which you assume will cause the effect you are studying in nature, that would be an independent variation of your presumed cause, otherwise known as varying an independent variable. That is what is an experiment. The outcome is whether or not the phenomena you are trying to induce is induced or not. Success is if you induce it, failure isn't an option in science, because if you don't induce it, you prove you're null. Go ahead, whoever that was.
So according to this guy, anybody that goes somewhere and just starts looking around is performing experiments. Like, that's just a funny way to put it, bro. I gotta say.
That's Jose G. Gonzalez. That's his attitude.
It's, as Tenth said, it's 1.5. He's utilizing the method so he can sound reasonably educated and correct, and he is. But he's peppering in enough nonsense so that you take the equivocation fallacy, or the is it equiv? No, it's not equivocation. What is it when you have an incomplete part of a full statement, and then use the part as though it's true of the whole? I can't remember the name of that fallacy. It'll come to me. Anyway.
Part of the whole fallacy.
In the science laboratory, it might be something much more complicated than that we have to actually test and write out a procedure and carry out that procedure, and then record some data and find out if our hypothesis is right or not. In the case of our car being broken down, if we think there's something wrong with the battery, well, we can carry out the experiment. Just check the battery and see if there's something wrong with it.
Chocolate's already called this. That's troubleshooting. That's not an experiment.
Yeah.
It's this constant equivocation fallacy he's doing with the car. I'm not sure. He's explaining things nice and then kind of diluting or kind of missing the point of what he's just explained an experiment is and a hypothesis by then going to this car, which, as Chocolate said, is just a technology issue. Yeah, is your battery plugged in? Well, that's nothing to do with science, is it? It's to do with just maintenance of your car. That's why he's doing that. I don't know. Is that so he can bung anything into a hypothesis later, as he's doing now? So this seems to be the switcheroo. This going towards being able to do anything, whether it's in the stated natural world, but he's using something that's not from the natural world to try and elucidate a cause.
Yes, I think that's exactly what it is, which is why now you can have the word science and everything from cat food commercials to shampoo to everything possible. Like, there are commercials that literally say science did that. It's a cat food commercial.
When we were kids, it was science and technology, and you understood the difference. As kids, you were taught the difference. Yeah, this seems to be kind of conflating the two for confusion. He's now trying to merge the two back together.
Those two have been conflated. As far as just real life testimony with people I've spoken to, like, people do that a lot, conflate technology and science. Like, I've had arguments with people at my job trying to differentiate science and technology, and some people swear that it's the same thing. There's absolutely no difference. Disregarding that they're two different words from the first off, but it doesn't get any more basic than that.
The battery and find that there's nothing wrong with the battery. So what do you have to do in that case? Well, sometimes if your experiment does not support the hypothesis, you have to be willing to change the hypothesis. And so you may have to go back up here and come up with a...
No, again, that's not strictly true. So once you experiment, you vary that which you assume causes the effect. If it, as he puts it, fails, I said earlier, failure is not an option. The outcome is always going to be a positive result one way or the other. So if you don't induce the outcome, you put a tick that's confirmed next to the null hypothesis. If A, not B. So you're studying something that occurs in nature. You see a explosion that occurs at ground level and go, what the hell is causing that to occur? And you go, I think it's the acid level in the soil. So then you go and form your hypothesis. If acid content, then ground level explosions. Yeah? You also have the null. If acid content, that's your independent variable, that which you will vary to try and induce the effect, then not ground level explosions. So then you get some soil, add some acid, and nothing explodes. So you confirm your null hypothesis. Now, it's important to remember that you're not attempting to confirm the null. That's not the outcome you're desiring. You're trying to induce the effect. So you don't directly test the null. You're not trying to not cause it. But if that is the outcome, it doesn't cause the effect. You get a zero difference result, no difference, null. Then you affirm, tick, your null. Now, at that point, it's not that you need to alter the hypothesis. That experiment has been concluded successfully. And you learned something. You learned it wasn't that was causing your effect that you were studying. Well, you have learned something and confirmed something as true at the end of the process. Now it's time for a new hypothesis, not a variation of the old one that's now complete. So, at the risk of sounding pedantic, he is incorrect, because there's no variation to a complete hypothesis. There's just a new establishment of a new hypothesis with a new independent variable to see if you can attempt to cause the effect that you were studying in the first instance, that which you observed occurring in nature.
The different hypothesis. Our battery's okay. Maybe our new hypothesis is we're out of gas. And so...
I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it.
You can test that experiment or test that hypothesis using an experiment.
This is very redneck. And wrong.
So you check the gas gauge.
Check the gas. Check the tires.
I'm sitting picturing somebody in their car like, wait a minute, my hypothesis is I ran out of gas.
Brenda, I just did an experiment on the guitar carrying ute. Let's go down, play some banjo. There was no gas in it. I experimented and found that out.
And you find maybe that your gas tank is empty. And so,
Genius. Science.
So your experiment can either support the hypothesis or not, and you can change the hypothesis.
No, that's wrong. It can only support one or other, alternative or null. Support in both instances. Yeah? Now you cross out the other at that point. So you put a line through if acid, then ground explosions. Yeah? That wasn't confirmed, so you put a line through it. But you still tick, there was still a success. Now, if you do affirm that which you assumed would cause the effect, you still put a tick and cross the null in that example out also. So both instances, you're going to be crossing one out and putting a tick next to the other. Yeah? But that's success regardless in both instances. Shout out to Jardo. Yep. He says, mechanics are now the new scientists. As an electrician who problem solves every day, I can now attach scientist to my business card. I entirely agree, Jardo. You are the science of electricity, my friend. You name yourself a scientist if you want to, Jardo. Based on the standards put here, I don't agree with that at all. No, he's not. But thanks for the super chat.
Hypothesis as needed. Well, eventually, you may be able to come up with a theory.
Yes.
Yeah, at least gave Jardo a plug.
And a theory is basically a hypothesis that has significant experimental evidence to support it, especially over a long period of time.
Yeah, you see, what is that blinking sound? What is that bloody noise? That is so irritating. I'm sure it's going through on the recording as well, because I can see it going on the output line. Anyway, I'll figure that out some other time. It's just distracting. Where was I? A theory comes off the back of significant scientific validation. Yeah, that's to say that you've confirmed your alternative hypothesis, and therefore you can form theory. Yeah. I see what you mean with 1.5 tenth, right? He's got enough in there that we would back. In other words, almost everything we would say is in there somewhere. Right, with enough peppering.
You saw or you heard Chocolate say, I bet he's going to start with, and this guy didn't. He actually has it nicely labeled, but then he takes it so far away from what its actual purpose is.
It's as people join, it gives me a bing bong to let me know that people are joining the Discord server. Right, I'm going to figure that out. Right, any chance you can talk amongst yourselves, because that is so distracting to me. I do actually want to try and resolve it right away.
Yeah. So chocolate.
Yo.
Yo-yo. You always got a yo-yo when I call you. I don't know how that always works out. Maybe I could do an experiment. So the other.
I mean, are you standing around somewhere looking at stuff?
Well, I'm just wanting to pull you on what you and I have seen a lot, which is ask a question, right? That's how most of them start. This guy didn't start that way.
Yeah, he didn't. Which I was kind of like, all right, that's what's up. And then he went straight to, oh, but your car engine. It's like, ew. Like, you had it. You were almost there, but not really.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You'll be
What
very
up,
pleased to know I've disabled all notification sounds, zeros. I know you were very concerned about it.
Oh,
Now, we have to be
No, I
careful
want-
about when we say
Go on.
I wanted to say this
theory.
about this thing. Maybe remember when 10th, I think it was 10th, or either John was mentioning that science is supposed to be denoted, or the etymological definition meaning to know or knowledge. Maybe people are convoluting and conflating technology and, making a new type of skincare thing with science, because they're thinking in that aspect to know means by doing these different things through chemistry and whatever, and they come up with these new things in technology that they think that means
yes and no.
expanding knowledge.
No.
Huh?
Yes. Yeah. If you just used it as you've just used it and just said, well, therefore my Timotei commercial is correct, based on the fact that the etymological definition of the word science is to know, therefore I know your hair's shinier, therefore I can call it science, that would be to commit, you were pretty close when you said etymology. It's an etymological fallacy to do that. However, there is an exception to that, which Adam has gone through a couple of times with us before, which is to say that if you are to write the book on bird breeding, and anybody who's a long-term follower will know why I use that specifically as the example, but that would be the science, the knowledge of bird breeding, and contextually correct currently, not an etymological fallacy, not just the old meaning.
But when you use it, it does not invoke any methodology. It doesn't invoke a hypothesis. It's literally a statement which describes the bound containment of all the knowledge of that topic, whether that be science or not involved in it. When it says the science of, it doesn't mean we're following the method. It literally just means, as you described, the sum of the knowledge.
Right, but you should use the word study, because study seems a more practical use there, like the study of bird breeding.
I agree.
Yeah, but no, because that definition has been used for hundreds of years without the need to re-clarify it. Anybody who's in the field understands it, understands the implication. There's no hijacking of the valor there. It's got its own definition. It has to have certain conditions, i.e. be within a containment of all the knowledge and in a book. It's what it means. Now, there's no stealing of the term scientific method and any credibility that method gives with that. It literally is use of the English language historically.
Correct. So
you should be able to cope with that.
The hijacking comes when there is a cause and effect assertion being utilised and the word science alongside it without the scientific method, because that also has a definition. That's pseudoscience. Oh, check it out. Just a cheap shout out to Chocolate with the free membership shout out via a super chat from Godzilla, followed up with another, and I quote, and a more expensive one for Neil. Super chat that actually costs Godzilla money beyond his free super chat that he had to pay money for because he's a member. So they both cost you money. But yeah, technically speaking, the one for Neil did kind of cost you more. So Neil's better, I guess. Kinda. Thank you for the super chats.
Shout out to you, Gord. Appreciate it.
Meanwhile, 10th didn't get any shout out. So, I mean, that's also a thing. Anyway, 88 people watching. Please share the show. Very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Hopefully you're enjoying the live stream. Live show. Right, Neil? Please share the show if you've not done so already. The chances are you're only here because you've smashed this link that's come from somebody who's actually given it to you, because it won't be YouTube that's sharing this show in their algorithmic non-love and flat earthers and redirecting that love to the anti-flat earthers that we compete with. So I really appreciate all the people who are here currently, but share the show if you haven't done so already.
But that's the point. Look, this is a lesson right now. It's beyond the show.
In science, because sometimes people say, well, it's just a theory. Well, that's not really how it works.
No, in science, a theory has been backed up by scientific validity that was empirical.
Most theories have significant experimental evidence backing them.
Yeah, so empirical evidence backing them. Yeah? Like tick, always a tick.
It's like he's trying to distinguish between a theory, the colloquial theory, and a scientific theory, but he's not saying it. It's like on the back of his tongue, but he's just not getting it out.
The lines are blurrier though, aren't they? You know, it's like experiment is more contextual in this arena because we're talking about the natural world. So contextually, it automatically becomes natural science when you say experiment. However, there's still a little bit of Weasley room. You know, I was riding my bike up and down the humps at the local track and I was experimenting with using my foot as a brake. That is still contextually okay because you're not talking about the natural world per se when you're talking about riding on a BMX and experimenting with various braking techniques. That's okay to say. But when it comes to theory, yeah, you can all understand if you're a follower, I've got a theory, but it's just a theory, a film theory. Yeah, well, in our colloquial language, when we say we've got an idea about how something may have happened, we can colloquially describe that as a theory. My point being that verbally has much more scope to blur the lines for him than experiment does because of the context of our arena that we're in for how we discuss the nature of Earth. Therefore, automatically, experiment is going to mean a specific thing. Theory, like I say, he's got a little bit more, well, a lot more weasel room with that word. Would you not agree?
Yeah, that's why maybe it's just a personal thing because of where we are and what we talk about. I would just like him to distinguish a little bit better, but I mean, obviously, he's already conflated checking out what's wrong with your engine with scientific method. So
the fact that it is being blurred while he's got pretty good examples of what the scientific method actually is on screen as he details it in a pretty good way. You know, he's got most of the meat off that bone when he regurgitates it with all the pepper that he's putting alongside it for his just so stories and his car engines and his technology and his non-science and his pseudoscience, which is probably yet to come. But the fact that he's blurring those lines whilst detailing the things that we do detail is epic. This is a really good video as a teaching tool, 10th. Excellent choice. One of your best, I would say. And it's from a tiny YouTuber, typically. So not the dross when you're a massive YouTuber. I'm not saying being a small YouTuber immediately it means you'll produce good material like this for us to respond to, because at surface level, if you just watch this video, it's not good. Not at all. It's just good for us. Shout out to D-Rose, who says, I stand corrected. It actually was Adam who mentioned and elaborated the understanding of science is knowledge. Yes, it was. Thank you for the super chat. Adam is awesome. There is no doubt about that in my mind.
Them
that's
up.
why he's the emissary.
For example, the theory of gravity tries to...
Not a theory. There we go. That's why I blurred the lines. Not a theory.
Explain.
Back with... sorry, he's just literally in the last breath. Got to object further. I thought I could just let that slide. To how much scientific validity you've got to back it to call it a theory. There isn't any scientific validity to gravity. None. Yet you're calling it a theory immediately after the back of making that statement and declaration. Wow.
In why it is that when you drop something, for example, it...
Like a helium balloon. Okay, everybody drop a helium balloon. We all watching it go up?
Falls to the ground.
Excuse me? Come again? That didn't happen. Are you insane?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe you should find out that even Newton said, I feign no hypothesis for this. So being that he's talking all about hypothesis and scientific method, maybe you should know that.
I think we should do it again. So we'll give it a go. See if I can cue this up in such a way that it'll work. Let's try that. Yes, I have. Right. Everything's going to work. Hopefully the jape will work.
For example, the theory of gravity tries to explain why it is that when you drop something, for example, it falls to the ground. And so that's a theory that tries to explain what's happening. There aren't too many people out there today that are saying, well, gravity is just a theory. No, it's our best explanation for why things fall down whenever.
What, like that helium balloon I just released? Yeah, it didn't go down. It went up. You crazy man. So this is backed by science and lots of scientific validity. I debunked it live on air with a helium balloon. Why all things go to the downward bias? They don't. I let go of a helium balloon, it went up. I'm looking at clouds right now, Dumbo. What are you talking about? This is your example of things having lots of science to back it when I can debunk it by looking at clouds. I'm thinking no.
You drop them on the Earth's surface. And
used to when a kid's just had a birthday, there's loads of helium balloons knocking about.
So there are lots of theories, and generally theories have a large body of evidence, and as we see here, they have been tested quite a bit.
But really? I just let go of a helium balloon. I tested it and it didn't support the original notion that things move to the ground. So are you going to back that as having causality established for an effect that isn't real? We've got clouds.
So in the case of our car breaking down, I suppose we could say our...
What about in terms of all things fall to the down, go boom boom?
Theory is that the gas tank is empty, and so...
I don't know what's wrong with it. It ain't got no gas in it.
The fifth step is take action. And so in the case of our car being broken down, our taking action might be we go to the gas station.
What the hell? Where's he got this from? Take action? After theory? No. Observe natural phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, that is to say your supposition of cause versus your dependent variable, the effect you're attempting to induce, alongside a null, followed by experiment, variation of said presumed cause of the effect you're studying to see if it causes it or not. If it does cause it, you can then move forward to a theory, and that's useful because what actually follows theory typically is useful things for humanity, like technology. They come after the science. So it's easy to think that your computer is science. No, but the scientific discoveries were in place for you to have that computer. It just isn't the science. It's the technology that comes after the science. Same applied to medicine. It's easier to understand, in fact, with medicine. So you understand people dying, they study it, establish the cause of the effect being the phenomena that they're studying, the illness. And then when they figure out the cause of the illness, they can then go about solving it. Yeah? So that's cause and effect established, and then theory, and then medicine, equivalent to technology.
Maybe that's his version of the take action part, what comes after the science is done, and you could actually create technology based on that. Maybe that's what he kind of means without
he doesn't know.
knowing that that's what he means.
No, he definitely doesn't. He doesn't mean that at all. Take action would be,
I'm trying to give him a break, you know.
Yeah, but in the methodology, if you like, well, people come back from sea with scurvy, we figure out that lack of vitamin C by way of systematic experimentation is the cause of that effect. Now we're going to take action. Well, what's the action? Give people stuff with vitamin C in it? Well, yeah, that isn't obvious. If you're studying why people were dying, once you figure out why, you resolve it with the thing that you found out. Yeah, that makes sense, but, you know, it's kind of stating the bloody obvious, if you ask me, if that's what he's doing, Chocolate. I just don't think he is.
And buy some gas for our car. And then we...
No, I stand corrected, Chocolate. That is exactly what he was doing.
Drive off.
Exactly.
In the case of a...
Yeah, next step. Continue your journey is the next bullet mark. There's no space, so it won't be, but...
Scientific observation or a scientific theory, taking action might be something as simple or something as complicated as writing a paper to be published in a scientific journal.
No.
You said
Yeah,
scientific
then we
observation.
At that point, right, if you have actually established the cause of the effect you studied in nature, at that point, that's when wonderful things happen. That's when technology, medicine, all those wonderful things, they're the result of it. Not a paper. I mean, that sounds like something that someone who's just made up a just so story might do, as opposed to advance humanity, which is what science actually does. Advance humanity. There's a lot more grand things that can follow the end of a successful scientific experiment. Not just writing papers. That's pathetic.
And letting other scientists read about what you've done so they
can cure the sick, advance humanity. Yeah.
Can carry out the experiment also and test it.
No, that comes in the systematic experimentation stage. See here, where it says experiment. You don't get to the theory, and then the action is give it to another person to do this bit. That comes incorporated into the, quote, systematic experimentation stage. That is to say that you don't do one experiment and then form a theory with it. No. That's when you contact other individuals and say, I would like you to become the scientist. That would be to say that you will be the person who varies and manipulates that which I assumed caused this effect. And I can demonstrate that it does cause this effect. However, so that we can eliminate the chances of my invalidated experimental setup being a potential, I would like you, third party, to vary and manipulate the independent variable which I have validated to cause said natural phenomena. That is the systematic experimentation stage, doing it more than once. Once lots of people have validated by being scientists that which they were assuming caused the effect until they also confirmed it caused the effect, then, and only then, can you move on to theory. As I say, the action part isn't writing your paper and passing it on. That's during the experimental stage if it's validated. That is to say, the alternative has a tick next to it. You better damn well do it another 100 times to make absolutely certain that there was nothing awry in the setup. Then you form a theory, because then you're absolutely certain beyond any doubt that there was nothing awry, wrong, done incorrectly in the experiment itself, so that you know beyond all doubt that your empirical outcome that establishes the cause of an effect that might be life-threatening has been proven true. Because then you can cure the sick and advance humanity, not write papers and contact other scientists to do the same thing again. It's already been done if you're at the theory stage.
It as well. Sometimes taking action might be going to a scientific conference.
Or curing the sick and advancing humanity. Not going to a conference so you can babble about your story that you made up and wrote a paper on if you didn't actually follow the method. Humanity gets advanced or lives get saved if you have actually done this. It's not some interesting folly that you take to a convention.
And talking to other scientists about what you've discovered. Maybe they can try to repeat your experiment. See if
there again. That takes place in the experiment stage. Systematic experimentation. Not after the theory, before it.
If their data backs up your observations, your theory?
Yeah, that would be to say that they did the experiment as well prior to you forming it into a theory. Systematic experimentation, you've got the order wrong. It's not take action stage, you've just made this up.
Or if it doesn't. So the scientific...
If it doesn't, why the hell have you already got a theory in place? You see how it doesn't make sense in your order? So you go through the experiment, you form your theory, everyone's rejoicing. And according to me, you can advance humanity. But then you take action, give it to someone else, and they don't validate it? Well, then something's definitely very wrong. If you're validating the experiment and someone else isn't, then there was something wrong, wasn't there? Yeah, that's why this is done before you do a theory. You make certain, by double-checking that the experimental setup was also validatable by other non-involved parties. That's the systematic bit. Yeah? You don't seem to understand that. You think it comes after. So what happens then? Do you put a line through your theory after publishing it? No, obviously not.
method is a systematic way of testing observations.
Kind of like me saying systematic experimentation stage. Yeah, but you're detailing it at the take action stage after the theory stage, mate. Makes no sense to me.
Now, scientific method is not just something that scientists do.
It is exactly what scientists do if they want empirical outcomes.
If you're planning on becoming an auto mechanic, for example,
then you wouldn't be doing science, you'd be fixing cars. We pointed that out earlier. Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just saying, here we go again. Auto mechanic, scientist.
Auto mechanics carry out the scientific method every day.
That's troubleshooting.
What? The auto mechanics carry out the scientific method, do they? No, they don't. No, they carry out troubleshooting.
To find out why a car isn't running.
That's troubleshooting.
What's wrong with the car?
Troubleshooting.
They carry out this same set of steps.
No, they haven't. They don't observe a natural phenomena at step one. You've just put observe. Yeah, that's where you're going wrong, mate.
If they test something, if that doesn't work, they try something else.
That's called fault finding.
Also,
honey, the car won't start.
Yo, this was the
scientist.
One more attempt, John.
Honey, the car won't start. Call a scientist.
I know what's wrong with it. It ain't got no gas in it.
The doctor will do this. If you go to the doctor, they're going to make...
No. Doctors aren't scientists either.
Observations, try to figure out what's wrong with you, make an educated guess or a hypothesis.
Really? Is that what I go to my GP for? Just make an educated guess and then vary what you think might be the cause of my woes. And if it fails, I mean, it might kill me, but I mean, at least you know it failed. You validated your nut. I might be dead. No, Dumbo. You better be damn sure you know what you're doing if you're a general practitioner.
They're going to experiment. They might run some tests on you, take your temperature, take an X-ray or something, see what's going on. And then when they come to a...
X-ray is about as close as you've got to naturally occurring phenomena. Yeah? Things break. Yeah? Bones break. Yeah? I mean, the X-ray itself is utilization of technology. Now, the technology in that instance, if you're talking about the discovery of these wavelengths, and I put that in air quotes, of light, I'm not going to go as far as to say that that is even off the back of science, the discovery of the various different wavelengths. Now, understanding light diffraction has advanced humanity with quantum mechanics and computing. That is science. But in terms of just X-rays, yeah, they might sound cool, but the discovery of various different frequencies of light, that's not science. I'm going to go as far as to say that's not science, in the same way as spectroscopy isn't science. Yeah? These are just looking at things and describing them. Utilizing them after you understand what they are, like X-rays, again, not science. You haven't established the cause of X-rays, for example, if you're going to call X-rays a phenomena. Not that he's saying broken bones, and not that he's saying that either, which could be a phenomena. He's saying the X-ray of the broken bones. It's so detached from a natural phenomena, it's unreal.
It's very well supported. We can call that a theory.
You could. You'd just be laughed at by people who actually understand what science is.
They're going to take action. They're going to give you a medication or maybe do surgery or something, and that's what doctors do. And so...
Yeah, that's not what scientists do.
Surgeries or something.
Yes. Doctors. You notice how they've called doctors as opposed to scientists. You see how they're different words? Yeah, like mechanic. I mean, I can do the same as you've done. Now, in the same way as a brain surgeon has to open your skull and then perform complex surgery on things that perform jobs. In the same way, a mechanic lifts the bonnet of your car and has to fiddle around with things that have jobs. So in the same way this guy says that mechanics are scientists, I can say that mechanics are doctors. They're basically car doctors, aren't they? They're just doctors. So it's perfectly reasonable for me to say a car doctor is basically a doctor. He's basically doing the same thing, but on your car. So not only is he a car doctor, he's a neural car doctor. Perfectly reasonable by this standard, right?
But he's still varying and manipulating man-made devices, though.
Wait,
So-
hold on. Aren't you doing that with your computer? What, haven't you been doing that with your computer, troubleshooting it?
I'm a
Does that
neural
make you a
scientist,
scientist?
computer doctor. I think you'll find chocolate, absolutely, without question.
I was
Yeah,
going
there
to
are
say
lots
the
of
same thing.
Nathan Oakley, computer scientist.
And what's a bonnet?
Professor Oakley's been tinkering with this computer for a very long time, and I can juxtapose that with science. Therefore, I'm a scientist. I mean, by this guy's standard.
People, not just auto mechanics and doctors, all kinds of people. Maybe
Anybody? You name it.
There
Hang
you
on.
go.
Flooring,
It's-
Neil, flooring, you're a scientist, my friend. Do
I
you
know
overcome
it.
problems? Do you observe things, Neil? Yes, you do. So therefore,
you're-
when you're overcoming those problems, Neil, you're basically a scientist. You're following this method, basically, aren't you?
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
You're
follow.
a common man scientist.
No,
Yeah.
I'm changing my name on the shirt. It says carpet technician, flooring technician. I am now going to put flooring scientist.
Perfectly reasonable.
Nice.
Just for clarity, this is not reasonable for those who are not British or don't understand sarcasm. Not reasonable, no. Scientist would be somebody who either, in their genius, assumes the correct cause of a phenomena, or the person who varies and manipulates that which they assume, or the other person who is the genius in this example, will cause the effect. So the variation of that which is assumed to cause an effect, the individual who varies it could be called a scientist. The person who formulates the hypothesis, that would be to suppose the cause of an effect, could also be labelled correctly as a scientist. However, the man who finds that right combination of plastic to go on your hair to make it shiny, that's not the science part. He is not a scientist.
What?
Nathan.
You're not a higher scientist?
No.
Nathan, everybody was talking so much there. The part about the mechanic scientist, I lost that in transmission. Can you replay that?
These puns are really starting to grind my gears.
Oh, good one.
Well, you are a
You're on
shifty guy.
fire. Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to step it down a few gears, because with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live stream for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!